Hey, it's Travis. Too many camp directors run just on gut feel. Our free Resilient Camp Blueprint Diagnostic is your dashboard for resilience. Take it today at camp.mba/Travis. Again, that's camp.mba/Travis. Have you seriously thought about your tech policy lately?
This is CampHacker. Come find our show notes and our blog for camp directors and leaders at camphacker.tv.
A big thanks to our sponsors who make the CampHacker podcast possible. Imagine camp registration software that actually gives you more time to do what you love. With UltraCamp, you can effortlessly track attendance, manage staff, streamline registration, and more. Explore now at ultracampmanagement.com/camphacker. Why spend hours on your schedules only to find mistakes and missed activities for your campers? Let Camptivities do the heavy lifting and help you create the best schedule yet, without the mistakes and in less time. Come check out Camptivities, specifically designed for camps by camp people. Find out more at camptivities.com.
Hello, Camp Mavericks, and welcome to the CampHacker podcast, brought to you by UltraCamp, Camptivities, and the brand new Camp Recruiting and Retention Playbook from Joanna Warren Smith and me. I'm Travis Allison. I'm a summer camp marketing and strategy consultant.
Hi, everyone. My name is Chris Hudson. I'm the founder of Camp Highlight, a sleepaway camp for children who have LGBTQ parents. It is the best camp in the hemisphere, Western Hemisphere, mostly. My opinion mostly, but a lot of other people's. Also, I am a camp consultant and staff trainer.
Excellent. Well, welcome back, Chris. I'm enjoying that this is you and me for a couple of shows in a row. We have plans to bring others back, I swear, but it's just us. It's fun.
I'm having a great time, which then I feel like we're going to have to account for when we get other people that be like, well, I used to listen to podcasts, and it seems like you two are having a great time alone. So we have to be cautious about how we talk about how much we're enjoying.
Right, just the two of us. Yeah. Well, we really miss having co-hosts like Joe and Gabs. Yeah,
for sure.
Absolutely.
Hi, Joe and Gabs.
Excellent. Well, I'm grateful to spend time with you, Chris. I'm grateful to have this discussion on topic. We put a lot of thought into this and have prepared a long time for this discussion. And what we wanted to spend some time on today is interrogating whether camps are being thoughtful enough or 2023-24 enough on their technology policies when it comes to campers. I don't know if we'll get to staff necessarily, but the camper discussion, I think, is where we'll focus today. And is there something for you, Chris, that comes to you right away as an introduction?
It's all like trying to jam through the front door because I have a lot of thoughts on this.
Yeah.
But the first thing I want to say is, in camping, what we're selling is sort of like this return to. Return to a kind of play, return to a kind of environment, return to a kind of interaction. And what I have seen over the past 30 years is that like the kids coming up, it's not a return to. It's for some of them, they've never experienced anything like camp. The rustic nature of it, the lack of technology, like sort of like the direct one-to-one or group situations, like a lot of them are just unfamiliar. What's more is that I've been doing camp so long that especially the little kids, their parents may not have grown up in an environment, anything like this.
Yeah.
It's not a hearkening back for the generation that we have at camp or their parents, which just gets me thinking, because part of that hearkening back, part of that return to is this idea about technology. We're going to cut you off from technology so you can really get into the business of living. I mean, and I don't want to show my hand too early in this conversation, but the business of living in 2023 going to 2024 involves technology to a significant degree.
Yeah.
So what comes to mind for me is it's the question that you asked, just remixed, is sort of what value is this return to, this hearkening back to? Is it still something that makes sense for this generation of campers and the generation of campers to come who are going to be even further removed from the kind of rustic environments that so many of our camps advance?
Sure. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many side issues to that discussion, some of which we've touched on other times. But one of the things that really um, hit home to me in our prep discussion was talking about nobody that works for us now or goes to camp with us now has ever had the experience of getting on their bikes with their friends and
Exactly.
going out. Like they just haven't had that. And
that 80s, early 90s sort of
mhm,
existence.
yeah,
Just like I said, our youngest kids' parents didn't have that existence.
totally. Yeah. Yeah. And I wanted to make this a topic because there's a piece that I remember you and I have discussed this on the show when Gabs and Joe were here, but I don't think we spent a lot of time on it. The and it's part of just the way that we see camp as the end all and be all for everybody, is that I don't think we're intentional enough or kind enough about the transition required for children to come to camp and put all that stuff away. Just this week, I heard another Pew research study. They do a lot of internet and families research that said that the teenagers are spending 12 to 13 hours a day on their phones. So more than half their day is looking at their screens. And I mean, on top of the whatever psychological impact that is, which is not good, but it is their reality. I mean, I think about the physical impact on them too, just sort of scrunched over computer head, looking down all the time, physical things. Probably not where we're going to spend time today. But the thing I want to pick up on is that we expect them to manage that transition on their own. And we expect that transition to happen instantly and to switch into camp mode. And we expect them to be open to new relationships in a way that they've never even experienced before, and making new friends and getting to know others in ways that have never happened for them. So, yeah, I think the thesis is we should be looking at this and considering this more.
In ways that in which have never been demonstrated for them or in front of them. You know, for so many kids who may be on the spectrum
Yeah.
or may have social anxiety or whatever,
Mhm.
technology has been a real savior for them. You know, Reddit and a lot of other places have been a real savior for them to find community and to be able to engage with people in a way that matches whatever their particular constellation of issues is. Then their parents talk them into coming to camp. They show up and the account's like, okay, give me your phones. That can be a lot. And like you said, like, are we kind enough? Are we thoughtful enough? I think that's why I'm glad we're talking about this today, is because lately this season I really want to examine the things that we take for granted, and this
Yeah.
is one of those things that we take for granted. No technology is better than technology. Uh, when you were talking, I was just thinking I remember back when I was in college in the 90s, I used to have a calendar and every day I would set a challenge for myself to do something different. Like,
Hmm.
hold the door for 10 people, like be kind, like this, da, da.
Yeah.
And one of them, it came up twice a month, was like, do not touch a computer all day. Because my thinking at the time was that computers at the time were time wasters.
Right.
If I
Yeah.
didn't have to type a paper,
Yeah.
I wasn't using the computer. If I was, it was to play like Civilization or something like that, play games. Now, just think about it, Travis. What
Mhm.
would your life, could you function without touching a computer? Like, could you be generative at all? You couldn't be.
No.
And so just 25 years later,
Mhm.
such thing would have been an impossibility.
Yeah.
And thinking about that, I think is really, I think that's really crucial to thinking about how to deal with technology as it comes in camp's future. In so many little ways. When I started off as a camp counselor, and I have pictures of all of my kids from the 90s. I had pictures of
Yeah.
all the things we did, the
Yeah.
events. Now I instruct my staff, you can't take pictures of the kids because that means your phone's out. And if your phone's out, that means you're not working. On top of that, you can't post any of the pictures of the children because we have the consent to post, but you do not, et
Yeah.
cetera, et cetera. It became so complicated because the technology changed. And now, whereas I mean, I feel like a hypocrite because I got pictures of my kids and I put them up on my college wall and I
Yeah.
thought about them all the time. My staff doesn't have that. They don't
Any
have
of
that.
yeah.
They love when we post pictures of the kids on our Instagram because they're like, okay, I can repost this. Or I remember that, like, but their memories being affected. And I know we don't want to talk about staff too much, but one of the great parts, what kept me going back to camp every year was seeing those kids' faces every day on my refrigerator, honestly.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
now that avenue isn't there. There are other avenues, sure, but this is why I think the conversation is really important. How are we being kind to young people when we say, "Give me that phone.
Yeah.
Stay off the internet."
Yeah.
What are some other ways? Like, I don't want this to be all about phones. So I think technology writ large is a really interesting conversation. What are some of the other technological things the other adjustments that kids are making?
Well, let me pick up on one phone thing before while you think about some other stuff. The I want to be clear that I still believe that summer camp without your phone is a good experience. I can't say I'm not 11 or 12 or 13, so I can't say if it's a better experience. But I still think it's important that there are times without phones. What my biggest thing about this is that we don't, well, I've said it now twice. We're not kind about that transition. We're not thoughtful about that transition. We don't give parents the tools that they need to prepare their kids for it. A lot of times, even if the kid had come to camp before, they've had to now had 11 months attached to their phone. And even if they love camp, they've had this other intense daily experience designed to be dopamine generating experience every single day. And so even if they love camp and did great at camp without their phone, it's still going to be hard for them. And that's the thing that I'm stuck on, is that how can we be better at that? Yeah. I want to take just a second and say thank you to UltraCamp for sponsoring the CampHacker podcast. And if you are a CampHacker listener, you can discover the best marketing tools and apps for camps by getting UltraCamp's free guide, The Marketing Toolbox. So if you go to ultracamp.com/CampHacker, you will find this toolbox. It's updated for this year. And it's just one of those ways that UltraCamp says that they understand what you're going through. They want to help in all the ways that they can. UltraCamp knows that you didn't get in this job to do paperwork and run reports. And so that's why they've created this platform to help you get all that stuff done, to streamline the program management and registration process of all the things that go on at camp. When you use UltraCamp, you have a transparent, flexible pricing scheme that allows you to concentrate on the things that matter: your campers, your staff, creating this experience. And so because of that, UltraCamp has a low minimum entry. They have clear pricing with no hidden costs. They have flexible payment terms, and they have no long-term contracts. UltraCamp's goal is to help its clients spend less time in the office and more time doing what they love. If you want to know if UltraCamp is right for you, they offer free customized demo sessions so you can see their software in action. To book that and to get the marketing toolbox, sign up at ultracampmanagement.com/CampHacker.
When you talked about just now, like giving parents tools and language to prepare their kids, what does that look like? Does that say, like in the parent handbook, like have a conversation with your kid, like suggest that they put the phone away for 8 hours and then have a 5-minute conversation with how they felt about that? Like, I guess I asked you the question that I answered it. I mean, that's one tactic, but what else are you thinking? Like, let's get into it. How could we make the transition kinder? Both of us have asserted that we think could be handled better. Now people are listening being like, okay, you two, what does that look like? So Travis, what does that look like?
Well, one, I think the parent handbook is dead. The Bible of camp is not practical. No family reads them. So this is a great way as a camp to start building out their kind of media resources or communication resources around different elements of the handbook. So that's a big pulpit for me, which I will not step off. What I think is, for a parent, you could send them material, saying, we understand that it's going to be hard for your kid. We also understand that for you, it may be very valuable that your kid has this experience without a screen, but we both need to acknowledge this won't be easy for them. And so I'm not saying turn off the phone for 8 hours. I am saying have your child turn off all screens for half an hour and find something to read or find something to play. Or you may have to actually sit down and handhold them through that. Sit down and play Lego with them for 20 minutes. Sit down and read 3 short books or a few chapters of a book together. And grow that over 2 weeks. Like make it a little longer. Make it so that they're, there's no phones at dinner for anybody, kids or adults. It's a chunk of time. But how many families actually sit down to a family dinner more than once or twice a week? I bet it's pretty rare. But maybe that's part of it. As we say, Wednesday doesn't matter. Any day this is our family dinner day. There are no phones, and go from there. You as a camp may actually need to provide parents with the talking points for a family dinner without phones. That may be a kindness to your parents.
Also, I like to go back to basics. I don't like to make too many assumptions. You have to explain to your parents the value of doing that with kids.
Yeah, totally fair.
I don't know if that's very clear. And this goes back to sort of like camps being like a no technology zone. Let's talk about what the value of that is. And also, this has implications all down the line.
Yeah.
Like how you train your staff. Listen, my cousin, who I'm going to talk about now because I know she doesn't listen to this, since her kids were born, they're 13 and 9 now. Since they were born, their father is a huge tech head, right? He's got hundreds of PS3 games. Like he's a collector.
Yeah.
These kids have had screens in their hands since they were like 18 months.
Yeah.
Whenever they're eating, I've only ever observed them eating with headphones in, watching YouTube. Ever.
Wow.
Travis, all the time. Even when we go to restaurants, they have to bring where's my iPad? It's the only way they eat.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm not here to judge that.
No judgment on them. Like I know that's not uncommon.
It is.
I agree that's not uncommon.
It is what it is. But for our purposes, what that highlights is that when those kids go to camp, the dining hall is going to be really challenging in a way that camps have to be prepared to handle. The idea that my cousin, their dad is a little over the top.
Sure. Yeah.
For sure. But he is by no means an anomaly.
No, I agree.
A lot of people are raising their kids that way. So what does that mean for us in the dining hall? What does that mean for us at bedtime? Wake up. Like, downtime. Like you said, 12 to 13 hours on a phone. Okay, great. So when they have village time or cabin time, what exactly are they meant to do? And how are they supposed to know how to do that? And is that part of your curriculum in talking to your staff about talking to the kids about how to use that time? Because it's all these things that shake down from like the absence of technology.
Well, and I am a huge fan of the free play movement in summer camp and education, but I think we have to. I think we have to work them into that space. I agree that if you put a bunch of 12-year-olds in a space with cool blocks and some trees to climb, eventually they'll get there. And maybe that's the point of it, is to have them self-discover it. In fact, it probably is. I admit that. But my concern is always they just don't have the tools. Like it's not, that kind of creativity without a cue from a screen or a challenge from someone talking to them on a screen is not something they experience very often. So could we set up free play, which is, i.e., coming to camp, but within camp, could we set it up so that there is a managed transition? Because not only should I'm sorry about that, everybody.
Kids are hard.
Yep.
Kids are hard.
Not only do I think that families should have meals together before camp where there are no screens and that they're all together. In the same way, I think that kids before they go to overnight camp should have an overnight experience away from their parents.
Oh, absolutely. That's
they should sleep at a friend's or a relative's. That will help them get ready for camp. So these are the sort of things that I think we should be communicating. We should be helping parents deal with. So, if you help parents do this and they buy in, then it makes your counselor's jobs a lot easier in the first 3 days of camp.
I want want this should be a supersized episode because I have so much more
Great.
to say about this. But
Yeah.
like something that you said in there about like the thing about the free play, like the thing about free play and sort of like getting back to nature and everything is that I feel like I've said this already, but I want to really drill this in. We need to discuss what the value of that is for parents and for kids and back
Right.
that up with data. Because
Yeah.
again, we're now 2 generations out of people who don't necessarily subscribe to the idea that no technology is
Yeah.
better.
Mhm.
And I find that, like you talked about the transition,
Yeah.
right? When the kids show up, and it's part of our welcome assembly too. This is a place with no phones, and why? Because we want you to connect with each other. It's so vague and so threatening when you
Yes,
only use
threatening.
devices
Exactly. Yeah.
you only use devices to connect. Now
Yeah.
here's a bunch of people, some of who you've never met or even seen before,
Yep.
who are telling you that you're not going to have it for 1, 2, 4, 6 weeks.
Yeah.
It is vaguely threatening.
Mhm.
And like I said, I'm going to talk out of school, but like the last 2 years at my camp, we've had more staff complaints about camper behavior than ever before. Now, yes, it's post-pandemic. Yes, there's a lot of things that are true in the last 2 years that weren't true, like say 10 years ago. That notwithstanding, I think often about these kids coming off of the pandemic, coming off of online school, coming off of online hangouts, now being reintroduced to this space after a year off. And of course, that's going to be traumatizing. Of course, it's going to be traumatizing. And to also to be in a space which is sort of low key suggesting that technology is bad for you when it has saved your life for the past 18 months
Yeah.
is cross messaging.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm big on intentionality. I think about things that we tell kids, but like I do not want to communicate to kids that tech is bad. What I always want to communicate them is that there's a time and a place, and there's a time and a place to use them, and there's a way to use them that is appropriate and community minded. Which, when I think about the future of camp, I wonder if that's something that people might want to integrate into their programs. I'm not saying let all your kids bring the phones, or am I? What I am saying is that how do we talk about technology in a way that speaks to who our kids are in the moment and to speak to the moment itself? We can't go back to me in college in 1993 being like, I don't want to touch a computer, and then feeling really accomplished by that at the end of the day.
Yeah.
What's the value of that? What really did I accomplish? I think it's that kind of thing. We need to be a little less condescending with our children and their families by just, well, need is strong. I want to walk back my statements immediately. We should be thoughtful about the value we place on no technology, especially given recent events. I know everything we talk about is about the pandemic, but especially considering recent events, I just think about the messaging around that and what our message around it should be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like the sort of the rustic no tech thing is it's so intrinsic to so many camp experiences.
Yep.
I just wonder if we're blowing minds right now because I bet a lot of people could not imagine their camp without that restriction.
Yep.
And to be clear, I'm not saying, and I haven't heard you saying that the restriction needs to be thrown out.
I agree. Yep.
It just needs to be really thoughtful.
Managed.
It needs to be managed and challenged. Who knows?
Fair.
Like I've shared this with you before the recording. We let our teenagers have their phones at camp because we can't fight it anymore.
Yeah.
And it's not, they weren't sneaking them in. It wasn't like that. It was just like we looked at our kids. They had grown up with us.
Yeah.
We had done the work of teaching them how to connect with each other. And now it was time for the next stage at 16, the teen program at 16. It was the next stage, be like, now you can use this device to connect to each other, but what does it mean in this environment?
Right.
And having them learn that lesson. How do we use this phone? Like, how do we use it to connect to people who are both here and not here? And that's a conversation we got to have with them because we were able to challenge our stance. So that's what I'm suggesting to anybody listening is sort of like, I'm not saying throw out your tech restrictions. Just why do you have them? Ask yourself that question. What is it saving time? Is it more fun without them? How do you know that?
Right. And I mean that's back to just don't assume because it was that way for you. You are not acknowledging, no matter how old you are as a camp director, you're not acknowledging that it is far different being a kid today than it was even 5 years ago.
It's always tragic to be a young person. It's always, listen, if you're between 11 and 16, the tragedy is happening to you every day when you wake up.
Yeah.
But that tragedy has changed flavors, and we need to be, as childcare people, as educators, we have to be really responsive to the flavor of that. This past summer, I had a conversation with our 11 and 12-year-olds about friendship.
Yep.
I'll tell you something, Travis. The tragedy continues. It's not so different than when you and I were 11.
Yeah.
But the parameters are so different. At some point, because the whole thing was scripted, I had to stop and be like, all right. I was like, kids, just stop. Everyone sit down. I was like, I need you to educate me on what your lives are like.
Yeah.
I was like, what I'm hearing is wild. What I'm hearing is really wild. Take me back to basics. And just learning about how their social lives and technology are completely not just interwoven. At this point, they're the same thing. I learned a lot that half-hour period that Thursday morning at camp.
Yeah.
And I would challenge anyone to do the same, to ask your I mean, we're talking about kids, but your staff is also invaluable.
Right.
Around this, because they grew up with technologies that if you are someone in your late 30s, if you can remember a time before the internet, congratulations, you're old.
Sure. Yeah.
But so many of all of our kids and a lot of our staff can't. What does that mean?
Right. Yep. And Chris, one of the things that I would encourage people to think about is that we say we want kids to have a chance to be kids and to play. And I think that word play is something we need to examine as well. Most kids don't necessarily come to us knowing what we mean by play. They don't know, which is why my favorite meal of every camp day is lunch for some reason. Lunch is where the sillies happen. And just to see a table, oh man, this is my favorite thing in the entire world. Seeing a table of kids cracking up with their counselors and laughing so hard they're crying. It's my favorite thing. And it's my favorite. I love being at that table that's laughing till you're crying. And it only seems to happen at lunch at camp. But anyway, what they understand as play is different than what camp says is play. It's certainly different than we grew up with. We'll stop beating that. We'll stop repeating that. But what is play to them? If they are older than, who knows, let's say 10 and they have a phone, or they've only ever had screens. There is no sitting side by side with each other and smashing cars together, or making things at a table, those things that we would instinctively say are play. Mm-hmm. Not every kid, and not 100% of the time, but that's not really a lot of what play is for them.
Not anymore.
When they have a phone.
Not anymore. I know.
And the thing that made me think about that is not only like phone, you ask about what other technology, what other technology we're pulling it back from. Gaming is a huge one, of course. But even just kids that can walk into a room and say, hey, smart speaker, and ask a question or tell me a joke or play the song. They're just used to that. They're used to that ubiquitous technology. And let's be intentional about that.
Let's be really intentional about that. And again, I feel like we keep circling this because we agree.
Yeah.
But what is the value of it?
Yeah.
I mean, I think people of a certain age want to say like, oh, you can't just ask the popular device. I can't say her name because it's right behind me.
Sure. Yeah.
Like, you can't ask the popular Amazon device. It's somehow it's like, well, you should figure that out on your own. And it's like, don't ask the Amazon device to do this or to get that. You should look it up on your own. Well, what does that mean?
Yeah.
What's the value of that? Like, yeah, okay. What's the value of me looking up how old Judi Dench is? I want to know right now.
Yeah.
What's the value of me knowing the square root of this number? Like the machine can tell me, and I've only ever existed in a world where the machine does tell me those things. Yeah. So explain to me why that's bad.
Right. Well, this is the same thing for other generations who are like, no, you need to know how to do math without a calculator. It's like, I don't. I do not.
Don't. No, you don't. And like I remember a family member told me that like, oh, I told my kids they can't have Instagram and TikTok and all that stuff until they're 19. And I said, be careful.
Wow. Yeah.
Because as an employer, when young people do not have any kind of social media, that's a red flag for me.
Yeah.
That tells me that they're not very serious about employment because they should know that I'm looking.
Okay. I see.
You know what I'm saying? It's sort of like, because the world that they live in is different.
Right.
I need to go to your LinkedIn. I need to see you have some sort of presence. I need more information about you.
Yeah.
That's just the world we live in.
Yeah.
And on top of that, if you're expecting your kids to master that technology at 19, good luck. Everyone else has been on it since they were 8.
Yeah.
Your kids are going to get lapped.
Right.
Not just in posting pretty pictures of their vacations, but at locating opportunities and understanding how the internet works, how social media works, and how that works. I mean, if I was introduced to LinkedIn today, I would be thoroughly unemployed forever.
Right.
Because the run up to figure that out,
yeah,
that was laid back in the Friendster days for me.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's how I learned how to do it. Can we? This is a whole different topic, but I'm just going to tack this at the end of my thoughts. Is camp a place for us to prepare kids for the world that's coming? Or is it a place to remember and reminisce about the world that is past? Maybe it's not as dichotomous as I've set it up, but I think we need to start asking ourselves a question about how much from column A and how much of column B is part of our camp, the camp that you run.
That's where we end it.
That
is the question to take home.
And I'm going to write that down because I want to think about that. I riffed. That was not in my notes. I riffed that. And now that I said it out loud, I'm like, whoa, that was kind of wild. Write that down real quick.
Yes. Well, let us end it there because it's such a good question. It's such a thoughtful thing. So this means that I'm going to take just a second and tell you about our other sponsor, Camptivities. There's a thing with your job that you spend lots of hours working on the daily schedules. You try to do as much of it as you can ahead of time. You're doing it when kids arrive, that after that first day, you're trying to get their schedules set up ahead of time. And there's mistakes, there's missed activities. It is certainly one of those things that can affect the mood of camp if the scheduling is going well or not. And so Camptivities said there's got to be a better way. It is an activity scheduler specifically made for camps by camp owners. It is group scheduling or camper scheduling. They've got the whole thing covered. So if you have different day schedules, no problem. If you need things sort of automatically scheduled as the first steps, it does that. If you have electives or what we used to call choose your own adventure sessions, you can do that too through Camptivities. If you need to batch schedule things, whatever you need, scheduling regarding kids, this is available through Camptivities, and it's a great way to do it. There are over 50 reports available, so you'll be able to see your data easily. I think that was this is an aside from the commercial. I think that's an opportunity for camps to learn what programs work, which are popular, and use it for your own staff evaluations too, based on the schedule, what people pick. That's good data for me as a camp director. But when a parent calls and says, my camper didn't get an activity this week, you can pull up the tracker, see exactly when that activity was, what the kid was going to. I have definitely had parents say to me, my kid didn't get to this. And I know that either the kid did get to it and forgot or didn't want to. So you'll have that for reference for a parent call. This is an opportunity for you to modernize the way you do activity scheduling and make it easier to collaborate with team members. You get rid of the mistakes and make sure your campers are getting to all of the activities. They really want to show you the next big thing in camp. Don't wait until the new year. Start the onboarding process now and save 15% for the first of the calendar year. Visit camptivities.com to set up a time to chat. Let them help you get away from your desk and back out to camp. This means it's time for our tool of the week.
Tool of the week.
I want to put a tool in, Chris, I'm going to do Travis, Chris, Travis, in this order. You talked about Reddit, and I can't remember if I've said this on the podcast. I certainly haven't said it lately, and I want to reiterate this. If you go to reddit.com, which is a kind of the world's biggest forum of ideas, and then /r means you're going to a subsection of there called a subreddit, go to r/summer camp and check that out, because your staff are talking to each other there. Your international stuff, if you have international stuff, it's incredibly valuable. But they do provide like once a week day that you can promote your camper job opportunities there. That's fine. I would use that as a listening platform. The questions are smart. The questions are sometimes very basic. Sometimes, there's even sometimes parents in there that are just searching for use the r/summer camp as a resource. Check in on that once a week or so, and you learn a lot.
The questions can be refreshingly innocent.
Yeah,
like
totally.
I'm 15. It's my first year as a CIT. What should I expect? And I think as people who are in the industry and in the community for a long time, it's a great way to continue to reach down and reach out to people who want to join this this great work that we've all undertook. So I fully endorse that. It's actually really, sometimes I read it, I'm like, oh,
totally.
Oh, like, we're sending our little girl away to camp for the first time. We're nervous parents. Someone, to give us words of affirmation. And it's so lovely to see people reaching out. Anyway, absolutely check that out. It's cool.
So we know and can see that there are smart camp directors in there, but it is so great for a perspective on summer camp that is not from people who live it. So that is a tool I recommend everybody sign up for and check it out. Chris, what's your tool of the week?
Well, to continue our conversation on technology, I recently came back from a trip. I've been traveling to a whole bunch of different countries, and this has come up on, if not every day, every other day. Someone's like, oh man, I wish we had a Bluetooth speaker. Does anyone have a Bluetooth speaker? And we're all like, no, we don't. And even at camp, especially, depending again on your camp policies, like a lot of these kids, they want music in the background of what they're doing. Again, we don't have to revisit the topic, but a lot of young people have grown up having music on demand whenever they want, like very little fuss. And they expect some of the camp environment to be the same way. Like when they're playing soccer, they want to hear music in the background. Wouldn't it be great if you just had a Bluetooth speaker that you could just clip to your backpack and just go? Well, guess what? The people at JBL, they heard you, and they invented the JBL clip. Check it out. It's a small Bluetooth speaker. I recommend JBL because they're a good brand, good acoustic. Like it sounds good. It's waterproof. Hello. And you just clip it on your backpack and forget about it. I recommend it. On top of that, I recommended a voice amplifier before. Until a week. I bet there's a way that you could probably figure out some app where you can blast your voice to the Bluetooth speaker.
Sure.
Which, I mean, if you were a camp counselor, you're probably going to love that. You'll probably find a way to use, and then shortly after, abuse that.
Sure.
Happen. So
totally.
Check it out.
Amazing. Great tool. So my other tool of the week, for those of you listening to this, you can see it on YouTube, but honestly, go to camphacker.tv/podcast and look for the show notes for this. This is a tiny flashlight called an Olight i1R2 Pro. So if you're a listener, this is smaller than my thumb in width and length. And it is just a tiny little flashlight that you can charge by USB-C, so you don't have to change the batteries, and it just twists to turn on the light. It is so small that I'm able to keep it in my pocket all the time. If I was camp directing, this would be part of my everyday carry guaranteed. Just the ability to have a flashlight to pull out when you drop something in a weird spot, or something falls down below the boardwalk at camp, then it is a great thing to have with you. So they're pretty inexpensive. We're recording this right now, a week before American Thanksgiving, so there's some sales on. this show's not going to make it out in time for that. So I think in the US, you can expect to pay $25 to $30. And in Canada, it's probably $35 to $45. But it's often on sale a few times a year. It's one of those things that I would use a previous tool of the week, camel.com, to set an alert for so you get notified. So that is the Olife Mini flashlight that would fit in even the smallest pockets in the world. So those are the tools. Again, camphacker.tv/podcast, and search for the thing you heard us say, or just look through the show notes to get to the tool. If you didn't catch it or want the very specific JBL speaker that Chris recommended, just go there. And we're doing our best to, if we do stuff on Amazon, which we're trying not to do for books, but we sometimes need to do it for physical objects. We're trying to put at least links to the US and Canada, and we're working on developing that new short link that allows you to click on the link from any in the world and get to your Amazon store in your language. So there's one. So, but we're working on that. Chris, thank you. I'm grateful for your insight and love having these conversations with you and pushing on how camp works and what we can do about it.
Same. Thank you so much. This is, again, I want to tamp down on how much I say I enjoy when it's just you and me. Yeah. It's fun. And I look forward to when other people join us as guests and co-hosts. That will be fun too.
Excellent. I agree. It will. How can people get a hold of you, Chris?
People can email me directly, chris@planetchris.net. Let me work with your camp to make it better and prepare it for the new world. And if you are interested in me as a person, check out what I'm up to on Instagram @PlanetChris1.
Thank you, Chris. If you have suggestions or feedback on the show, you can reach out to me, Travis at gocamp.pro. And before we go, I want to take just a second and introduce you to, as CampHacker listeners, you probably know this already, but we are releasing a new podcast this year called The Pudding. And Mandy Baker and I are examining the research around camp and the proof about the value of what we do. The proof is in the pudding. And we're really excited for it. It's soon going to have its own feed, thanks in part to Camptivities' sponsorship of this new program. But if you check out the shows now, late fall 2023, you'll find the pudding in our feed. Going forward in the new year, you will find it on its own. And I would encourage you to check it out because it will be things you can offer to your families as proof, ways that you can change and examine your own programs because of the research and base it on that. So check that out with me and Mandy Baker, Dr. Mandy Baker, The Pudding. Thanks for the evening, friends.
The CampHacker podcast is brought to you by Beth and Travis Allison, summer camp leadership training and marketing consultants. Thanks for listening.
Hey, it's Travis. Camp directors often tell me they're just too tired to take on anything new. That's exactly why my free Resilient Camp Blueprint Diagnostic exists. It doesn't add work, it shows you progress. Quick, free, repeatable, you'll know if your systems are paying off without the guesswork. Try it today at camp.mba/Travis. That's camp.mba/Travis.